Okay, welcome to tonight's chart focus. What I thought I'd do tonight is actually focus on one particular sector. There not an awful lot of great looking charts out there. XJ obviously made a little bit of an inside day today. Whether it's going to come back and fill this gap back down here, it's only a small gap. Whether it's going to fill that or not, I don't know. But yeah, a little inside day, so a bit of indecision creeping in. We might have got a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but let's see what the next few days hold. What I'm going to do is focus on the uranium sector. I thought I'd pick a hot sector and just look at a few charts within that sector. Talk about how I'd maybe trade it. We'll look at a couple of the larger ones first, just to get a feel for how strong this sector has been. This is EXT. Mid-October, broke this nice little bottom range here, 620 odd. It's now $8.60, so pretty amazing run in that in a little over a month, possibly even under a month. Too far gone for me. Looks like it's, it should be due a pullback. Really, it's getting a bit vertical for my liking, but shows you the strength. Another one, Paladin. We videoed this on the break of 370, 380, somewhere around here. I think it was 375 actually when it was hovering around here. And as you can see, there's been $1, and I certainly haven't taken that entire ride. It spiked so hard on those first 2 days after the break I was out, and didn't get back in on the swing, unfortunately. But so you can see some of the larger ones are running pretty hard. The larger one we'll have a look at, which really goes against the grain of everything else, is ERA. That's a 12-month daily. No sign of abating at all at the moment. We'll see if there's any support. Lower it's a 2-year. There's a 5. We'll go to a 5-year weekly. So it's definitely found some kind of consolidation here. It's broken through this consolidation. Time will tell whether this is a little false break and then we're going to get the bounce or not. But I'm certainly looking at ERA for some signs of an entry, purely based on the fact that the rest of the sector is so strong that I'm watching to see if there can be some follow on into ERA. Alright, we'll look at a few little ones that came up on the scans. This one's ARM. There's a 5-year weekly. We'll go back to the daily. Go to a 12 months daily. Okay, so nice rounding bottom shaping here. Resistance 46, which it broke today, so closed at 47.5 after a high of 49. Great volume on the last 2 days. Broken this res. Next one up here is 51, so that's probably the next key res, but a break of 51 with this sort of volume, and should be looking at some generous upside on this one. I'll just put some fibs on this last this last range, and we'll see if we can get any clues of some targets. So let's run it from this one rather than the high. So it was the last significant high. So the 38's way up here, around the 63, 64, so plenty of upside if you do take that major range. If we go down to, say, the smaller one here, let's see if that gives us anything significant. Well, we're right on the 38 now. The 50's around the 55 level, and then around the 60s. So there's a few areas to keep in mind, I suppose, but interestingly it's on the 38 of that recent range. So, but really good volume those last couple of days, so suggests there could be more in that one. Okay, all of these charts look pretty good, so we'll fly through them and I might give you a few clues. Right, that's AEE, a little higher than ARM, certainly a little further into its swing, in fact getting up towards these 12-month highs. Decent volume over the last month or so. Reduced volume on the dip, which is exactly what we want to see. Breakout today of recent res, but fairly long top wicks, so hit a high of 29.5, close at 28.5. It's only a cent off actually, but I'd be setting an alert for that one. I'm not in this one yet. I'd be setting an alert for that one either at the open of this bar here, if you wanted to give it a little bit more room, or a break of today's high. That's ARM. Pens another. Some of these have already run pretty hard, so I wouldn't be rushing too much into these, but I just wanted to show you a few charts just to see the consistency and how strong the sector's been. Gained really good volume in the last 3 days and has powered on. If we go to a 2-year chart, I might have to go to a 5. It's a 5-year weekly, so breaking this $6 res was, 6-cent res was the key resistance on that weekly. You'd think up here around the 7 would be shaping for the next resistance level, but yeah, certainly been very strong with that one as well. We'll stay on the weekly, just have a look at some of these first before we drop back down to the daily. BLR, another one that's way off its highs and a little lower into this bounce cycle, which are the ones that interest me the most. So we'll go back to the daily 1-year chart. You can see the difference between that. That looks like it's run pretty hard, which it has, but the difference between that daily and showing a 5-year weekly, which looks like it's really at the beginning of its run, can really give you another perspective on where these charts might be going. So I'd really encourage you to look at not just a daily chart or an intraday chart. Even if you are a short-term trader, it's really important, in my opinion, to have a look at all the time frames just to get a feel of where these things have come from and may be going. But I think I'm still on the weekly. Okay, there's the 12 months daily, and pushed through that recent res. Recent res was at 4.5. Got through today, hit 4.6, and then dipped down to 4.4 close. Considering the market was down all day, not a bad effort, and on increased volume. So good volume on the swing. So again, I'd be setting an alarm for breaking yesterday's high if you weren't already in that one. These are pretty simple. No great indicators, no complicated indicators on any of this. It's just purely price and volume. That's how I would look at some of these. TOE, really good volume today. Best volume in 12 months by the look of that. Broke, pardon me, that 14-cent res, previous 14.5-cent res. So again, we'll go to a weekly to see if we can get a bit more idea. And on the weekly, still very much in the early stages of that bounce. So res up there around that 16.5 would be the next res you'd be looking at, which probably correlates to up there. So actually, I think that's 17.5. Yep, 17.5. So 17.5 is probably next key res, but really good volume today, which is the interesting part there. And again, with charts like that, you can probably go back to the weekly if you wanted to, especially if you're a bit more of a medium-term trader. And you can throw some fibs on this, so you could go to a 2-year, maybe throw some fibs on that range there, so run it from that high down your lows there. Okay, so interestingly, the 38 was where previous resistance is, and that's where it's breaking now. And the 50 was exactly where there was some previous resistance as well. So it's interesting how these have lined up on past levels as well. So 17.5, I think we mentioned earlier, would certainly be the next key level of interest, but plenty of upside above that if it can kick on. But they'd certainly be the areas I'll be looking at early. Break of yesterday's high, today's high again, and probably would be close enough for me to consider taking a position in that one. Again, of course, depending on what the US does tonight. Okay, EME. It's another one. So these are all uranium plays or stocks that have uranium assets. High of 71, which it's testing right now. Close at 72 actually, so it's broken this key line of resistance along here. It's at 70.5, 70 and 71 quite a few times along here. We're on the weekly again there, so you can see the weeklies in themselves. Pretty nice looking charts. There's the daily, doesn't make an awful lot of difference. Fairly thinly traded this one, but interestingly, best volume for 12 months today, so, and broken that really key resistance. This one only came up on the scans. I didn't trade this one today, but will definitely be on my radar in the morning. Okay, I'll fly through a couple more before I finish up. UTO, again 14-cent res, a little bit of volume kicking in. We go back to that 5-year weekly, very much at the bottom of this cycle with some stiff tight range res around here, around the 14.5, 15 mark, somewhere like that. So it's not too far away from a break of those tight ranges. Again, we're looking at a much longer term play, I suppose, than my normal short term scalps, but looking at those charts might give me an idea of an area where I will get that short term momentum on the breaks. So, and that's why I'm looking at the weeklies as well as the dailies. DYL, another one, pretty good volume recently, has broken a few levels of res on the way up here and closed not far off its highs, so another one that would be on the radar. And Bannerman was yet another one. So again, had that rounding bottom that we've seen in many of those other charts we've looked at tonight, and has broken that and powered upwards. And because a lot of them have been doing this off those bottoms, that's why I'll look for the others. And that's probably the one thing I'd suggest from looking at all these charts tonight is, for me, quite a few uranium stocks have come up on a price and volume scan. I've noticed a few alerts going off, so I'll go back to my uranium watch list tonight. If you don't have one, you can do a search on the internet, try and find a list of stocks that have uranium, build a watch list and go through those and look for stocks that haven't moved in the sector yet or haven't moved so much. Set alerts on key levels of resistance in those stocks, and that gives you a fresh new lot of stocks to watch. One of my favourite strategies is looking for the stocks in hot sectors that haven't run yet, on the hope that they'll follow the hot ones. So that's all I've got for you tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow.